All right, my friends, welcome back. Today is December 11th, 2024, and it is 68 degrees here in Central Florida. I can't complain, and I wouldn't if I could, because I'm trying to do a lot less of that. But more on that later. Today I want to talk about one of the greatest gifts that you could ever give anybody. I'm absolutely serious about this. This is not hyperbole. I'm not exaggerating. It really is, and chances are you've probably already done this at some point in your life, maybe numerous times, and not even been aware of it. And it could be that you're not aware that this was a way of gifting something to somebody that they would remember forever and always associate with you. And that's what we want. When we give a gift to somebody, we want them to know that we care and we want them to remember us. And I guarantee you, when you get done hearing this, it'll change the way you practice beneficence from now on. At least I hope so, in some marginal way at least. All right, so anyway, before we get to that, I want to kind of tell you what I've been doing the last couple weeks. Like I said in my last video, I'd taken off of work because I had to burn up vacation time. And so while my wife and kids went to Savannah, Georgia, I stayed behind and took care of the animals, which I didn't mind. It was nice. And on my way back from Orlando, where I took them to the train station, I stopped at Icon Park, made a video, got some B-roll, and then the next day I went to Sanford, Florida, which is kind of north of Orlando. It's about a 2-hour drive from where I live here. And the reason why I went there is because they were having an Asian Lantern Festival. Have you ever heard of one of these before? Have you ever been to one? Because I had never heard of them. And so I saw one of the travel guides, like a Florida travel guide on Instagram, had talked about this and posted some clips, and I said, this looks beautiful. I've never heard of it. So I bought a ticket, went, and I had such a great time. It was like nothing I've ever seen before. And apparently this goes on in a lot of different places also. I mean, I don't know about a lot, but it does go on other places. And if you haven't ever been to an Asian Lantern Festival, I advise going. Look it up. Attend. It's just absolutely stunning what they can do with these things. So anyway, I got to Sanford a little bit early. I didn't know what to expect because I'd never been there before. By the way, the Lantern Festival is held at Central Florida Zoo, but I walked around Sanford for a little bit, for maybe an hour before I left, and I visited a couple stores, so I stopped. I walked into the Hollerbach German Market. It's like a deli bakery, and it was very German. All the smells were different. Everything on all the labels and packages was German. I couldn't understand a word of it, and you could buy German hats and some German clothing, but it was very, very different, and I liked it. It was really neat. So then I walked to the store next door, which was the Hollerbach German Outfitters. Okay, so we got two stores here with Hollerbach on it. And it was very, very German themed. And being around Christmas time, it was Krampus. There's a lot of Krampus memorabilia in there. But I noticed a lot of traditional German clothing, like, lederhosen and whatnot. And, stuff that you would see people wearing at Oktoberfest. And so I asked the lady there, I said, what's with the German theme here? Is Sanford considered kind of a German town? She goes, no, there's not necessarily a German population here. It's just that the Hollerbach restaurant, which is right around the corner, is a very popular, well-liked restaurant. And so they opened up a couple of other stores, and the town kind of embraced it, and it's become kind of a thing now. And apparently one of the scenes from My Girl, the movie, what was that, 1992 that was made, I think, one of the scenes was filmed there. Like some of the scenes were filmed in Bartow, which is right around the corner from me. And I'd never heard that before. But anyway, so the lady told me, she goes, I bought my wife a backpack while I was there, by the way. This was kind of cool. It's really neat. My wife is very, very into horror. Everything horror. You just see the inside of my house. Anyway, so I asked this lady about this, and she told me, she goes, well, you ought to come back on December 5th. They're having a Krampus festival. I said, you're going to be kidding me. My wife would be all about that. So when my wife got back from Savannah, I told her, I said, you need to take the day off on December 5th. We're going to Sanford. I'm taking you to the Krampus Festival. She was so excited about that. So we did that. We went there, and the lady told us, she goes, "There's gonna be a professional wrestling match between Krampus and Santa Claus." I said, I could dig that. And I don't like professional wrestling, but that sounds kind of cool, you know. So we went there, and they had all sorts of, they had a few vendors, not all sorts of vendors, but they had a few vendors. It wasn't a real big thing, but there was a huge turnout for not being a big event. I couldn't believe the scores of people that were there. And people were all dressed up, especially, you know, either in traditional German clothing, or they were dressed up as Krampus, going around there. So if you don't know who Krampus is, let me enlighten you. Okay, so he's sort of a half goat, half demon monster who punishes kids at Christmas time. He's kind of the counterpart to Santa Claus, and I think it's rather humorous. So let me tell you what Britannica.com says about Krampus, because it's just more accurate than what I could say, and it's really interesting. Some of you probably already know who Krampus is. I didn't know what Krampus was until like a couple of years ago. But here's what it says in Britannica.com. Krampus, in Central European popular legend, a half-goat, half-demon monster that punishes misbehaving children at Christmas time. He is the devilish companion of Saint Nicholas. Krampus is believed to have originated in Germany, and his name derives from the German word Krampen, which means claw. Krampus was thought to have been part of pagan rituals for the winter solstice. According to legend, he is the son of Hel, that's spelled H-E-L, the Norse god of the underworld. With the spread of Christianity, Krampus became associated with Christmas, despite efforts by the Catholic Church to ban him. The creature and St. Nicholas are said to arrive on the evening of December 5th, which is why they were having that festival that night. Well, it's called Krampus, not Krampus. I don't know how you say that, but it's called, Krampus night. While St. Nicholas rewards nice children by leaving presents, Krampus beats those who are naughty with branches and sticks. In some cases, he is said to eat them or take them to hell. On December 6th, St. Nicholas Day, children awaken to find their gifts or nurse their injuries. So he is a horrifying figure. And at the festival, like I said, there was all sorts of people walking around as Krampus, trying to scare people and whatnot. Further on down, it says festivities involving Krampus include the Krampusloft, which is Krampus Run. In this activity, which often involves alcohol, people dressed as a creature parade through streets, scaring spectators and sometimes chasing them. Beginning in the late 20th century, amid efforts to preserve cultural heritage, Krampus runs became increasingly popular in Austria and Germany. During this time, Krampus began to be celebrated internationally, and the monster's growing appeal was evidenced by numerous horror films. I've only seen one, and it was really good. It was one that was made back in, 2015? Some claim that the expanding popularity of Krampus was a reaction to the commercialization of Christmas. Well, that's interesting to me. I had no idea. I didn't know that much about it before I read that and before I went to the Krampus Festival. But it was interesting. It was really fun. And so, I mentioned the Krampus movie. Have you seen it? It's really good. At least I enjoyed it. And I think that it's just a fun thing to add to the whole Christmas holiday. Let me ask you this while we're on the subject of Santa and Krampus. Have you ever believed in Santa Claus? Growing up. Not now, of course, you're probably an adult watching this. I don't imagine any children see my videos. But when you were growing up, did you believe in Santa Claus? Now, when I was growing up, we didn't believe in Santa Claus. Now, we loved the story of Santa Claus, watched all the Christmas specials and all the movies. I love Santa Claus, but never once did we as children believe in him. Our focus was always on Jesus and whatnot, the true Christmas story. But I'm not opposed. I'm not like some Christians who are absolutely opposed to Santa. I'm not like that. I think the story is great. I think it's beneficial. But I don't think it's wise to teach kids that he's real. Now, I'm giving you my opinion. You can take it and you can trash it, or you can agree with it. It doesn't really matter to me. But I see parents, talk, or at least I hear parents talk about how their kids are devastated because we just revealed to them that Santa's not real. And the kids are angry and they're crying and they're upset because they've just realized they've been believing in a figment of someone's imagination. And I have a problem with that because kids need to know that they can trust you, right? They need to know they can trust you. And they also deserve to know, or at least you deserve, that they know where they get their presents from. And they deserve to know the true story. But I'm all for the story of Santa. I think it's fun. I think it's very colorful. And it's very happy. And I just, it's good. But anyway, so that's just my opinion on that. But I say all that to lead to this. Have you ever believed in Krampus? I never knew. Like I said, I didn't know about him until I was an adult. But it could be that you have heard of him long before. If I was a kid and believed in Krampus like some of these kids believe in Santa, I wouldn't be able to sleep at night. Well, I wouldn't have any reason to. I would have never had. I'd never had a well, I didn't have a problem with my conscience when I was a kid, but I was always getting in trouble. Always. Ask my mom. The number of spankings I got. We didn't need Krampus. We had my mother, which was horrifying enough. I got so many spankings, well-deserved ones, I'm sure, that Krampus probably would have been afraid of her. So, anyway, I say that because I know my mom's watching this, by the way. Hi, Mom. So, anyway, have you? What is your favorite Christmas movie? Mine is not Krampus, but it is a cool one. It is a cool one. You have all your standard traditional movies like It's a Wonderful Life. You have National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation, which I can never get enough of. It's just a riot. Scrooged is right up there. Bill Murray, one of my favorite people, by the way. I would love to have Bill Murray as a friend. And Elf, of course. I think Will Ferrell is absolutely hilarious in that movie. Great, great movie. One of the things I really love about Elf is the way it was filmed, because they didn't really stop anything downtown New York for the purpose of filming. They just did it on the run, and you can tell by watching the people in the movie around the characters that a lot of them were not even extras. The reactions were genuine. You can tell some people realize they got caught by the camera. It's really interesting to me. But I love that movie. And then The Polar Express. Some people like it, some people don't. It's not one of my favorites, but I do enjoy it because it just reminds me of when my kids were little, because that's when it came out. And then, of course, Die Hard 1 and 2. Can't forget that. Oh, I love those movies. And it's too bad that Bruce Willis is going through what he's going through. It's really sad. But Die Hard 1 and 2, yes, I do think of them as Christmas movies. That's just the guy in us, right? That there's nothing wrong with adding a little bit of violent action to the whole thing. But I would have to say, if I had to distill it down to one, if I had to give one movie as my definitive answer to what is my favorite Christmas movie, I would have to say It's a Wonderful Life. It's so rich and meaningful. And Donna Reed in that movie, I had the biggest crush on her growing up. She's so soft and so beautiful and so supportive and understanding. I mean, she's a little afraid. She's a little afraid of the edges, at the ends. But I love her. And I always wanted to marry her. And she's like the ideal wife. But anyway, It's a Wonderful Life, one of my favorite movies of all time, Christmas or not. And some people say it's not Christmas, but it is holiday. It does even approach New Year's, so I just kind of throw it in there unapologetically. All right, so let's take time to reflect. Let's get to our topic here, which is the greatest gift that you can give somebody at not only Christmas time, but any time of the year. And this is really ideal for Christmas time for several reasons. And that's because you are going to find yourself standing in the gap at different times. We go to parties, we go to different functions. We might find ourselves connecting with people that we know that know somebody else that we know, and this becomes very applicable. And you might wonder what this has to do with it. I'm going to explain. So the greatest gift that you can ever give anybody, one of the greatest gifts, I should say. I don't know if it's the greatest. You can actually leave a comment and tell me below what you think is the greatest gift you can give somebody. Okay? It's not something you can buy. It's something that's free. You give it away. It comes from the heart, and it has to be genuine. But I don't want to get ahead of myself here. It's the gift of being well thought of. The gift of being well thought of. Have you ever considered that before? Okay, so let me explain to you where I get this. I mean, it's not something I just dawned on me, but this really applies. Okay, so I had found a Reddit post where that a woman had submitted. I don't know her name, but her title, her caption to this tiny little submission says, "I found out my husband brags about me to his friends." Okay, I found out my husband brags about me to his friends. Here's what she says. My husband still keeps in touch with all of his high school and college friends with various online communities. The other day he was playing some game online with one of them and at one point left the room. I made small talk with his friend while he was gone, and he asked me about a project I'd been working on. When I asked how he knew about that, he said that my husband is always talking about me and bragging about my cooking and a lot of other stuff that I do. He said it always amazed them because he has always been a generally sarcastic guy and disguises his compliments as insults when talking about anyone else but me. 10 years of marriage, and I love this guy even more. Oh, I love this. I absolutely love this. Because I understand what this is like. When I was a teenager, I worked at McDonald's. And as many teenagers I experienced, a somewhat fractured, strained relationship with my parents at different times. Okay? So when I was working there one night, it was closing time, and right before they locked the doors, the manager ushered in a painter to do some painting in the back while we were closing down. And my father was a painter by trade. And so I asked this man, whom I had recognized, he's actually the husband of one of the women who was the manager at McDonald's there. I asked him, and I said, I've seen you around for quite a while. My father is a painter by trade. Do you know him? And he asked me what his name was, and I told him. And he says, yes, I do know him. What is your name? And I said, well, my name is Greg Boswell. And he said, I know you because your father talks about you. And I was like, oh, really? I didn't realize my parents even talked about me at all, especially in glowing terms. He says, yeah, your father thinks a lot of you. He thinks a lot of you. And he says all sorts of good things about you. Now, I didn't ask him what he said. I thought that would be kind of weird. And I certainly never brought it up to my father later on. But it made a huge difference to me. I never forgot it. And to this day, it's just a precious memory of mine. And it made me feel so good, just like it did this woman. You see, third-party reporting is very, very powerful, as you've already experienced in your life. Surely you've had someone speak ill of you behind your back, right? And you've wondered why. I thought we were friends. I thought we knew each other. Or I didn't know I ever gave you a reason to talk that way about me. And I didn't realize the impact I made on somebody was that negative. But when somebody reports something positive, something wonderful, something redeeming, it's so edifying. It just really does something, not to your mood, but to your whole life. You suddenly realize that you have value that you didn't even know was there before. And so I just want to emphasize that if you ever find yourself standing in the gap between two individuals, two parties, whatever the case might be, whether it's business or personal, if you have the opportunity to say something nice, do so. If you can speak about someone in glowing terms, absolutely take that opportunity, because when it gets reported back, the way you're going to make them feel will stick with them the rest of life, not your the rest of your life. Now I'm going to give you 4 pointers in how to think of this so that you can stay on track and not flub up whenever the opportunity to open your mouth arises. Now, number 1, you want to build up. If you're going to speak about someone, build them up. Don't tear them down. Okay, and this is something I've already said throughout the video, at least since I've been on the topic. Build someone up. Don't tear them down. You know, we have enough people tearing us down in our life. We don't need more. And we certainly have an inner dialogue where we're actually pulling ourselves down quite often. We think people see us more negatively than they actually do. So don't tear down. Build up. Okay? Number 2, be honest. Be very genuine. Be authentic. Because if you're going to fabricate or embellish, chances are the person you're talking to will know, and then they'll be suspicious, and then nothing you say will ring true. So you don't want to undermine yourself, and you don't want to try to fool or manipulate anybody else. Just be honest, okay? If you can't say anything nice, don't say anything at all. It's the old adage, right, that our parents probably try to drill into our head. Number 4, be selfless. Don't make it about you. Don't draw attention to yourself. Don't talk about yourself. Don't try to curry favor with the other person. Don't try to make this somehow benefit you. It's simply about them. Just say, listen, I want you to know, this person over here, I think you're pretty great. I mean, they say your cooking is good. They say you're really good at this or that, or you're so kind, you're so thoughtful, whatever it is. But be honest and be selfless about it. And number 4, be brief. Be brief. And the reason why I say this is if you ramble on, you stand a greater chance of wandering into the realm of inauthenticity. And it's just too easy. And it's too easy to turn into something selfish. And you begin, don't get uncomfortable and start rambling. Just say what you need to say and get off. Just like I told you about this man that I encountered at McDonald's, this painter. He didn't go into detail. He didn't need to, because my imagination did the rest of the work. And that's one of the keys to all this, is let someone's imagination run with something wonderful that you said to them. Focus on the things which are good, redeeming, and edifying. Build the person up, but do it genuinely. Do it selflessly, and be brief. All right, guys, I hope that this has helped. I hope this has meant something to you. Leave your comments down below like I've asked you to before. Share your favorite Christmas movie. Tell me about when you've actually exercised this virtue and it's worked out for you. I'd love to hear it. Or maybe it's happened to you, and that's something to consider. So anyway, I hope that you've enjoyed this. If you have, hit the thumbs up. Subscribe if you haven't done so already. You know the rigmarole. You've heard lots of other YouTubers do this. I don't even like saying it every time. But I have realized that people do need to be reminded, unfortunately. Check out my videos that get posted at the end of this video in the playlist and the description down below. Okay, I think I'm done doing all that. I feel like I rambled on too much. I said be brief, and here I am just chattering away. Thanks, guys. I appreciate you watching. I'll catch you in the next one. In the meantime, be wise.